21, he's seen the fights. Johnny's 58, chasing the lights. Both had battles that brought them low, but they found a way to steal the show. Health concerns were weighing them down till they found a path that turned it around. Carnivore diet, they took the lead, finding strength in the promises they keep. Now they're living wild, living free, healing body and mind, just wait and see. Tune into the truth every single week. Real talk with Brian and Johnny, that's the peak. 8 p.m. on YouTube, gather near, uplifting vibes, let's give a cheer.
All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. We have a special guest tonight, Coach Amy. Hold on one second here. 1 second, I guess. Then here we go. For anybody that doesn't already know her channel, it's at Keto Rockstars. So you can go to her channel. We are going to start out with just looking at some comments, saying hi, and then we're going to turn it over to Amy and let her start telling us about her story and so forth, and we'll take it from there tonight. So let's look at some comments really quick. There's a lot of people here already. I'm just going to try and go through. Sorry if I don't hit everybody, but Rick is here. Hello, Rick. Sherry. Did I say that right? Sherry, I believe.
She's vegivore, just so you know. She's trying to eat more meat, but she's heavy on the veggies. She's a good friend.
Okay. Golf addict. Thomas,
Spanky.
Target Prime Rib. Hello. Squeaky Monkey Coconut. That is hard to say. That was.
I love that name.
Oh, let's see. Cynthia is here. Hello.
Hey, Cynthia.
Good enough for you?
George from the UK.
George.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why he was saying Thursday. I couldn't remember if it was UK or Australia. Okay. Brian Dish. Hello. Paul is here. Hello, Paul.
Oh,
Grandma's Crochet Corner. Hello.
Bruh. Goes live every night, and she's amazing. So you need to reach out to her and get her on your channel too. She's amazing. Donna. That's Donna. Hi, Lewis.
Hey, Lewis.
Uh-oh. Were you guys able to hear me? You couldn't hear me before, could you?
Yeah, you froze up a little bit, Brian.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I saw my screen go dark. I was like, uh-oh. Paul is here. Hello,
Hey, Paul.
Two Pauls. Smoothie
lives
right?
in South Bend where I live. I've got to meet you, Smoothie. I don't know your first name, so if you can put your first name in there, but we're neighbors. We live in the same county.
Granny Boo is here. Hello. Steadfast.
Sharon.
I don't know who this guy is. Carnivore champion.
Who's that?
Some wacko.
Mason. Hi, Mason.
Carnivore Helix.
Hi, Helix.
Am I caught up? I am not caught up yet. Oh my gosh. Oh, he hears me now. Good. Manix Gaming.
Hi, Manix.
Oh no, was it really stuck on a silly face? Because it just went black on my screen. Or is she messing with me? I think Cynthia's messing with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay, John, I will remember that.
John.
We're neighbors.
Bride's Biscuit is also here. Hello.
Bride's Biscuit. Hello.
All right. I think we are caught up. So normal reminder, if you have a question, put a large capital Q in front so it's easy for us to see the question. I don't think I missed any questions there. But we're going to turn it over now to Amy, and I'm going to bring up her channel again for you at Keto Rock Stars. So, Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story here?
So there's a lot here. So at any point, just stop me. But I have been carnivore for 128 days. I know that's not real long. Okay. But I've been keto for like 2,500, on a ketogenic spectrum for like 2,500 days. So that's October 2018, essentially. So it's not like I just started this, 3 months ago.
Mhm.
Some people, they had obesity when they were children, right? I was never obese as a kid. I was always really thin and tall. They used to call me olive oil or Sasquatch when I was a kid because I was really skinny and really tall, and I was taller than all the boys. So the boys would pick on me too. And then in high school, I was thin. I was like 5'11", 145 pounds. I've shrunk a couple inches since high school. Once I start explaining the 8 surgeries that I've had, you'll understand that, getting hacked into probably shortened you a little bit. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed at age 9 with asthma and allergies, and that's something I've lived with my whole life. And I got put on my first medication at age 9. It was some allergy medication. It was terrible. It made me sleepy and tired all the time. I was supposed to have sinus surgery when I was a child, but there was some risk to that. My parents were like, "No, you're not hacking up my kid," which I wish I had that mentality as an adult, but I just didn't. So in college, I put on some weight, like freshman, 15, 20 pounds, whatever. I think that's normal because as you're a college kid, you get your own car, you get your own job, and you start getting your own fast food. So that started to happen. So I started to but still, I mean, I was like 150 to 170 pounds. That's still pretty thin for a tall girl, I would think. At age 25, I was diagnosed with arthritis. What the heck? I don't think it was arthritis. I think it was poor diet, right? It was all the crap I was putting in my body because I'm like, how does a 25-year-old get arthritis? I mean, it does happen, but so they put me on medication and I was allergic to that. So I just had to stop it. So I'm like, whatever, I'm not doing this. Um, in 2005, I met my husband. And not long after that, I got one of these sinus infections, right? That I've had my whole life with the allergies and everything, and it didn't go away. Like, they kept putting me on antibiotics after antibiotics, and I still had facial pain. So, I'm not gonna go through this whole story, but essentially the long and short of it is, after 2 years, I was taking a bunch of pain medication. I was on 5 Vicodins a day. I was on Klonopam, diazepam, temazepam. I took baclofen. I was on this cocktail of drugs, and I was driving around trying to function as a human being and hold a job. And, I found this surgeon in Detroit, Michigan, and God rest his soul, he passed away, at the age of 50, but he was a brain surgeon, and he's like, in 2 minutes of talking to me, he's like, "I know what you have. You have this condition called trigeminal neuralgia, and it's a neuralgia of your nerve where the pain signals are firing, and if you've ever had a toothache or a bad tooth that hurt really bad, imagine that pain, like the worst tooth pain constantly that never goes away." And my ear also hurt, so I couldn't stand noises, and I'm a singer. I sing in 2 choirs, so not being able to enjoy music was kind of a big deal for me. So, I went and saw him, and, I've never really been, like, can we say this word, suicidal or depressed in my life? I don't know if we can
Yeah.
say that word in YouTube, but I never been until I got that disease. That disease was called the suicide's disease, and if you Google it, it says that the pain is so great. They said the pain is worse than childbirth. Now, I've never had kids myself, so I can't verify that, but, it was terrible, and there was a couple of times that I went to the emergency room for shots of morphine because morphine was I didn't sleep for 2 years, so morphine was the only thing that would allow me to sleep. And the second time I did that twice in 2 years. the doctor accused me at the ER of being a drug addict and only going to the ER just to get morphine. I'm like, guy, listen, I just want to sleep for a couple of days. I haven't slept in a year. Can you just please give me something? Because the Vicodin wasn't working anymore. They also put me on Lyrica, and they got special permission, I don't know from who, but to put me on like 1,000 milligrams over the recommended dose or something. So I was on,
Wow.
I think the recommended, the highest doses was like 2,000 milligrams. I was on 3,000 milligrams. And then I couldn't breathe. Like I couldn't breathe on that medication either. Okay. And so finally they had to get me off of that. And come to find out, that drug, people were dying on it because they couldn't breathe. So I was very lucky I got off that when I did. So I found that surgeon in Detroit, and he ended up doing brain surgery on me to fix the trigeminal neuralgia. So they drilled a hole in the back, and they decompressed the nerve. They also nicked the nerve a third of the way through, which stopped the pain. So it's funny because now when I eat ice cream, I only get an ice cream headache. Like if I ever eat something really cold, I don't get an ice cream headache on that side of my face. So it's kind of funny. That's just a little interesting tidbit. So another thing that happened was, I wasn't real heavy, but I wanted to lose some weight before my wedding, right? So I heard of this thing back in 2005 called the Atkins diet. So I did that thing. I did the Atkins diet, and I didn't really do I didn't read the book. There's like phases in that diet from what I understand. I just basically did my own summarization. I'm like, oh, you cut out potatoes, pasta, bread, starches, sugars, and you just eat meat and veggies. So in 2000, I don't know, it was probably like 2006-ish, I decided to just eat meat and veggies. So that's what I ate every day. And I lost 30 pounds before my wedding, and that was awesome. And we went on this 2-week cruise in the Caribbean, right? And I'm like, I'm just gonna take a break from Atkins for a minute, and I'm just gonna enjoy everything on the cruise. So I kid you not, I went on this cruise, and the pants that I took on the cruise, I couldn't wear at the end of the 2-week cruise. Like I had gained more weight than I lost because these pants, like I couldn't button them. So there's like only 3 items of clothes I could wear towards the end of the cruise.
Hmm.
So I went from like 175 to, I think I got to almost 200 pounds by the time in 2 weeks. If that's even possible, I did it. So that was the other thing that happened. And then, I got back from the cruise and I didn't have pain anymore. And I was happily married and I was learning to cook and all the things. And I never went back in Atkins. So next thing you know, I'm 260 pounds, right? I don't even know when that happened, but I just got to, I'm talking in my early 30s. I got married when I was like 30. And the next thing you know, in a few years, I'm pushing 300 pounds. And I was also diagnosed with sleep apnea in 2011. And I know we've talked about this, Johnny, because I've always suspected I've had the AFib, right?
Mhm.
Because I think AFib is a common. Right.
Yeah.
That's
I
one
don't know if
thing they wonder about.
Yeah, one of the number one causes of AFib is sleep apnea. It is so hard on your heart and your body, and there are probably millions of people that have sleep apnea that don't even know they have it, and it's a killer. It's a killer, and it's really tough on your heart. Those two things kind of run together. If you have sleep apnea, you're almost guaranteed to have AFib. Not 100%, but they kind of run. They're kind of running buddies, if you will.
Times I've felt this fluttering feeling in my chest, and I mentioned it to my doctor, and she's like, why would you think that? And I said this in the chat one time, and I said, well, because I wear an Apple Watch. Guess what the Apple Watch does? So my Apple Watch frequently comes up inconclusive when you do the EKG.
Mhm.
So when that happens, I go over to my blood pressure cuff, because that's another thing that I got diagnosed with was high blood pressure. It was 220 over 110 when I got diagnosed at age 38. So I have a blood pressure cuff just to keep that in check, even though I've reversed that. And it's got the cardiomobile things on it.
Right.
And there have been a couple of times I put my thumbs on that and it says possible AFib. And that's what made me think, do I have AFib? But my doctor doesn't seem to care. And honestly, I don't want to go on blood thinners. I don't want to go on Eliquis. I don't want to go on all the things. So I'm just gonna pray to God that it's good and that I'm wearing my CPAP mask still, you know.
So, quick
And
question:
mhm.
Is that doctor like a general family doctor type or a cardiologist?
She's a general doctor, but she's got like
Okay.
internal medicine specialist.
Okay.
She's
Because
she's my general physician.
one thing I've found is the general doctors don't seem to be as in tune to AFib until you get diagnosed with AFib, and then you see a cardiologist, and then the cardiologist, that's part of their specialty. That's one of the big things that they look at. And they seem to be more in tune to it. So it may be worth having a visit to a cardiologist and just see what they say. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted
I'm
to say that
kind of
real quick.
scared to do that because all of my wheels have fallen off, all of them. And there's like, I don't want the axles to fall off too. So I'm like, I don't want to be diagnosed with one more condition. If you know what I mean, I'm like, I probably should, yes. So yeah, that's been something that's been on my mind. My AHA, which are hypoapnea events, was 70. So when I went to have my sleep apnea test done, it was supposed to be a 2-night test because this was back when they made you stay the night.
Right.
And I fell asleep and they woke me up in an hour and they said, "Ma'am, we can't let you sleep." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "It's too dangerous." I'm like, "What do you mean? I sleep every night. How is it that I come here and I can't sleep?" So they literally cut my test from 2 nights, 16 hours down to 1 hour, and then they put a mask on me right away. So I still wear a sleep apnea mask every night because I probably should get that tested again, but every time I turn around, there's like something new happening. So I just, I'm plugging one hole at a time. So that's that story. Then in 2013, I woke up one day, story of all of our lives, and my hip hurt really bad. Like I just woke up one day, I wasn't doing anything but sleeping. And I woke up out of bed and I'm like, oh man, my hip really hurts. So I went to go see an orthopedic. I waited a while, to see if it would just go away, and it never did. So I went to see an orthopedic surgeon and they did some MRIs and they found a labral tear in my left hip that was causing the pain. And he's like, "We can go in and repair this." So I'm like, "Fine." So I had that repaired in 2013. I took that for granted though. Do you think that encouraged me to lose some weight? No, I thought, well, maybe I should lose some weight, but I never did anything about it. Then in 2016, I went to New York City to sing at Carnegie Hall for a choir concert. And I'm one of these people, I'm kind of an overachiever. And I planned all these things to do in New York City our first night there. So we walked 20 miles. The first night we were in New York City and I was still 260 pounds. And I ruined my foot. I ruined my foot trying to walk that far, that heavy. And so when I got home, I went to see a foot specialist who is a surgeon. And guess what he recommended to do?
Surgery.
Surgery. Yeah. So and actually, if there's any surgery I would not recommend having, it's ankle or foot surgery. If you can do something to help yourself not have that, that is the worst surgery, I think. So I had that surgery, and then after that, it didn't even fix the problem. I ended up having to lose weight and get orthopedic shoes anyway. So, I mean, try that first before you get your foot hacked into. Um, then in 2017 I was diagnosed with the high blood pressure. That was 220 over 110. I feel like that's very high. I don't know. I don't know if other people have had um, higher blood pressure, but I think that's pretty high. And I went on medication. Then 2018, I was changing a hummingbird feeder in my yard and I face planted into the spider web and I kind of did this weird fall thing and I landed and there's video of it on my channel. You need to go check it out. But my security cameras caught the whole thing and I retore the labrum in my left hip. So it was back to the hip surgeon for the same problem. And so this is what really changed my life though, because it was the same guy who did my first labral tear repair. And by now, the medical charts are all online. They're putting their notes in there and you get a notification in your chart, your my chart. And so I got this ding that Dr. Saradsky made a note in my chart. So I pulled it up and I looked at it and it said, "We talked extensively about weight loss," and I lost it. I started crying. I'm like, "We never talked about weight loss. Why would he lie about that? He never told me I was fat." And I did all the girl things, right? Like, "My doctor says I'm fat." And I just started bawling. But you know what? That was the kick in the tush that I needed. Like, I'm like, now I understand why he did that now, because doctors have to jump through hoops. And if you're overweight and your chart says you're obese, the doctor's got to say he had a conversation with you about that before he can just operate on you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that really, like, that got through to me. So I went back to him and I said, look, I want to lose weight. I know how to do it. Give me 6 months and I want to get some weight off. Plus, every time you have a labral tear repair in your hip, it's not like hip replacement. You don't get up and walk the next day. You're on crutches for 8 weeks. And I live in a tri-level with all these stairs, and being 300 pounds almost and trying to crutch up and down stairs without your leg is, you blow your armpits out. You end up having armpit surgery. So I did it. And I thought I'll just do the Atkins thing again. I know you can cut carbs and lose weight. So I did that, but I was doing it wrong. I was eating like grilled chicken and steamed broccoli every day. And there's only so many days in a row you can eat grilled chicken and steamed broccoli. And my older sister Janine, she has secretly been keto for 20 years. And she got wind that I was doing this, right? So she started sending me Dr. Berry videos. And she started sending, if you know who Maria Emmerich is, like her protein lasagna, and then Carolyn Ketchum's taco pie. I'm like, I can have lasagna and taco pie and still be like low carb. And so that really saved me at that time. And I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. And then I went back and had the surgery. And it was fine for a minute. It was fine for 7 weeks. And then I was standing at the kitchen chopping a salad after I got off crutches, and I took a tiny little step, like where you just take a step on my left leg, and my hip popped, and I about went to the floor. This was 7 weeks post-operation.
Mm.
So I went back to that doctor, and he's like, "Sorry, there's not anything more I can do for you." And I was like, "What? You just operated on me. What do you mean?" And he's like, "But I got a guy in Chicago I want you to go see." And that's Dr. Shane No at Rush Medical. Oh my gosh, this guy is like the orthopedic surgeon for the Chicago Blackhawks, I think. He's amazing. He is like nationwide hip specialist guy. And he's like, in 5 minutes, he's like, "I can fix you." And so I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So he did the surgery. Knock on wood, I've been good in that area since then. So that was that. And then so I had 2 surgeries in 2019. It was really weird because I had a meat aversion that year. I think it was from all the anesthesia. I ate bacon and eggs every day, lost another 20 pounds, and then I stalled for 2 years. What happened next? I hate to talk about this on channels, but I think it's important because it's part of my journey. But in 2020, we all know what happened, right? I got a certain shot in my arm, right? Because I care for a 94-year-old with dementia in a nursing home, and my 80-year-old parents live next door. And so I was concerned, like a lot of us were, about what to do, and I did it. And let me tell you, I had the worst reaction for 45 days. My lungs filled up, and again, this isn't just this medication, the Lyrica, the arthritis medication. I can't take vitamin C. Every time someone writes me a new prescription, it's like, am I going to be allergic to this one? So why wouldn't I have been allergic to that? It felt like my lungs filled up with fluid. I had fever and chills every day for 45 days. Does that sound like a normal reaction? 45 days?
Mhm.
And my doctor wouldn't see me because they wouldn't see anyone who had any virus symptoms. And of course, these were all virus symptoms. And it took 7 negative virus tests for my doctor to finally believe that I didn't have the virus, that I was having an allergic reaction. So he finally saw me. I suffered for 45 days. Oh, and I contacted the CDC about this. The CDC said contact your local county, city government. So I contacted them. They told me to contact the CDC. So I filed a VAERS report. I'm still waiting. It's 2025. I'm still waiting to hear about my VAERS report. And so my doctor finally what did it was he put me on steroids, right? A couple of rounds of steroids, and that calmed my immune system down, whatever was going on with it. Again, this is not political. This is just what happened. After that, too, I got sick every month and a half for 2 years. And I'm talking, I got the virus 7 times confirmed. I got RSV. I got the flu. Every month and a half for 2 years, I was sick. It took 2 years to just I don't know what happened with my immune system, but something did. So that I dealt with that. The important part of that story is, before then, I had this crazy energy from the weight loss and energy, like the kind of energy that carnivores talk about. I had that on keto until that incident. When that incident happened, I was a different person. Like, I'm like, I still lost weight. And I also moved into protein sparing modified fasting. I don't know if you know what that is. I learned that from the Emmerichs. That broke me through a 2-year weight loss doll. I did that for 4 years. So I think the combination of that and I don't know if there's such a thing as long COVID. I don't know if that's a thing or not. I don't know if it's real or not, but I had something going on. The combination of that and it just, I mean, my energy was just like not the same. And then in 2023, I had a hysterectomy. So there's another surgery. And then let's see. I maintained 110-pound weight loss for 4 years on protein sparing modified fasting. And then the straw that broke the camel's back was this year. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the story. Thank goodness you're probably saying. But this year I call it like disaster week, right? So there was a week in May and we had storms. I don't know if you guys had these terrible storms. One of the storms, a tree fell and almost hit my parents' house. They live next door. The next storm, a tree fell and almost hit our house. So we were spending thousands of dollars to have like multiple trees removed. Then the same week, my brother had a work accident where he sliced open his arm. I mean, he sliced open his arm and he called me, of course, because he didn't want to upset my parents. And so I went to the ER and I'm sitting there watching the insides or looking at the insides of his arm split open and he looked white as a ghost. I know he lost so much blood and they ambulanced him. So anytime, Johnny, anytime you get an ambulance, it's probably not good.
Right.
So that happened. And then 2 days later, my dad calls me 2 days after I was just in the emergency room with my brother. My dad calls me. He's like, I'm really sorry about this. I know you were just at the ER, but I got to go to the ER. And he had a kidney stone, which if you've ever had a kidney stone, you feel like death, right? So I'm like, okay, Dad, I'll take you because my mom doesn't drive. So I took them. So after that, I was like, I felt like the days after that, I was paralyzed. I was paralyzed in the morning. One day I almost didn't even wake up for work. Like, I was paralyzed in my bed, and I'm like, "I can't move my limbs. Like, what is going on? I can't." Like, my brain is telling me to move my body, and I just can't move. I'm like, "Something is really wrong with me." That was, like, in May or June, and so I'm like I've always been in the carnivore channels. I've always watched carnivore channels, even though I wasn't really doing it. I called myself more ketovore. Although I look back now and the amount of meat and eggs I ate was probably carny close enough, um, for a long time. But I'm like, I think I need to just do it. I need to go strict carnivore. When I say strict, I mean meat, butter, salt. Okay, so the one thing that's not strict though is coffee. I have not given up coffee. So coffee is the only thing that I didn't cut because I would die. I would die. I suffer from migraines, and so like there's no way I could enter into carnivore and not have coffee. But I cut my coffee intake from 2 pots down to 1 pot. And so the way I describe it is within 2 weeks of cutting almost all plant material out, um, my energy, it was like a hallway, right? and the energy is moving closer to me in a hallway, and the exhaustion is moving away from me down a hallway, and it was like an echo that just got farther and farther away. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it didn't go away like overnight, but it was like
Right.
instant. And I'm like, oh my gosh, something's happening. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. And so I've stuck with it. I promised myself I was only going to do 30 days. And I'm 100 and did I say 80 days?
Mm.
180 days? No, 128
Yeah.
days in. So I've been
120.
doing it.
Mm.
And then 3 weeks ago, in September, I was diagnosed with an inguinal hernia. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Another surgery? I'm like, I'm done with surgeries. And so I had surgery 3 weeks ago. I'm gonna tell one more story, and that's about the great cheese incident of 2025. So I'm pretty sure when I had the surgery, and I didn't even think about this, that they hooked me up to a bag of glucose because that happened, and then I woke up, and then they were like, "You got to eat something." I'm like, "Why do I got to eat something?" They're like, "Because you got to take this pill, and you need to take it with food." And so the choices were like crackers, I forget what the other ones were, but applesauce. And I'm like, I don't eat sugar, okay? No sugar. And I was like really grumpy talking to them, and they're like, just one bite. And they're like, there's no sugar added in this applesauce. I'm like, fine, I will take a bite of applesauce, but only one bite. And so I did it. And then they put me back in the recovery room and like, you need to eat something. I'm like, man, why is everybody making me eat? I'm pretty sure you don't have to eat after surgery. You can fast, but whatever. And then they're like, they were telling me all the choices, and then cheese stick was the choice. I'm like, give me the cheese stick. I'll eat that. So I ate the cheese stick. And then ever since that, I've been struggling with cheese. Like, I've kind of been eating cheese since the surgery, and I mean, I haven't felt bad for it. Let's just put it that way. But I've been kind of sneaking cheese back into the diet because they reintroduced it to me. So, and the other thing is I have gained weight on carnivore. I'm up 20 pounds. I think you've probably heard that when I've been posting that in the chat. But you know what? Right now I'm trying to heal. I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm having an open mind, and I'm trusting the process. Anyway, is there any time left in the
Right.
hour?
Oh, we've got plenty of time.
Okay, good. I tried to get through it as quick as possible because there's a lot.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you, Amy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so you've been through all of this, and it's been my experience. I've been in healthcare for 36 years, off and on. You could have gone to 7 different doctors and had a completely different experience. They call it the practice of medicine, and I'm convinced they're all practicing. Some are better than others, but it's amazing how you go for a second opinion. For example, one doctor says you have, X. Next one says, oh, no, you have Y. And they're both, who do you trust? Who do you trust in the medical field? Because the assumption is they've been to medical school, they've passed all their tests, they've passed their, they've done their internship, they've done their residency, and they're not nefarious. They're doing what they believe is best for you.
Great thing.
But it's really I hate to say it, but for me, going carnivore, and the reason I went carnivore was to lose weight because I had plantar fasciitis so bad I couldn't walk. I was just a functional cripple. My feet hurt. I mean, I can't even, it makes me want to cry to think about how bad my feet hurt. I went carnivore because I thought if I could lose 30 or 40 pounds, I weighed about 325 or 330 when I went carnivore, that my feet would still hurt, but maybe not so bad. And, I had bought every orthotic shoe. I had bought special inserts. I'd done all that stuff. I had a walker. I had crutches. I had a cane. And just 2 weeks of carnivore. And I had been to podiatrist. I've been to my primary care doctor. And no one said anything about inflammation. I go on the carnivore diet eating pulled pork with sugar-free barbecue sauce every day for 2 weeks. And my plantar fasciitis left, and it has never come back.
Wow. And see,
And
I wish I would have tried other things before having the surgery too. That was the worst surgery.
I had my left hip replaced in 2000. Well, my mom died in 2018. 2000. Yeah, she died in March. I had my hip replaced in June of that same year. And my right hip on X-ray, the last time I had an X-ray, which has been before I started carnivore, looked worse than my left hip did. But my left hip hurt worse, so they did that surgery first with a plan to go back and do my right hip. I've been carnivore now, and I've had struggles, well documented, but my right hip doesn't hurt at all. I mean, I've run 3 5Ks, I run sprints, I do squats, I do everything, and it's amazing that kind of moving away from the medical establishment, which I've been a part of off and on for 36 years, has been the thing that's healed me the most. That's just there's people like you, because I run across them every day in my line of work that have had surgery after surgery. They've been to specialists, they've had injections, they've had all this. And it makes me scratch my head and wonder, gosh, if people like yourself and Brian and myself and everybody else in the space could really get this word out and really push it and have people see these true, real testimonials from real people, could we keep somebody from going through all the stuff that you went through and that Brian went through and then I went through and everybody else has gone through? And I hate to say it, but moving away from the medical establishment, if you will. And I'm not here saying doctors are evil or bad. I mean, your brother got his arm cut. He desperately needed doctors, competent doctors and nurses. I mean, he'd probably be dead without them, right? I mean, it's easy to see that. But it just seems like everybody looks like the answer is right here, and everybody's looking all over here, and the answer is sitting right there, and it's what we put in our bodies, the amount of inflammation, and it's just crazy. As far as your sleep apnea, I had sleep apnea too. At one time I was on lisinopril, hydrochlorothiazide, and metoprolol, and my blood pressure still ran about 210/100. With all that, they kept upping the dose and changing the dose, and nothing they did work for my blood pressure. I went on carnivore, and my blood pressure averaged like 130/70, 130/80 now. And would probably be, and for me, I'm almost 60. So depending on what chart you look at, because now they're saying, they keep moving the goalposts for the markers for high blood pressure, because the more people that are diagnosed with high blood pressure, the more lisinopril, HCTZ, and metformin, metoprolol, they can sell. So I think my blood pressure is probably where it needs to be. I've never felt better. And I just hate that you went through all that. I hate that and I take care of, I transport patients, 5, 6, 7 a day, 6, 7 days a week. Well, 5, 6 days a week now. And everybody's story is so similar. It's unbelievable. And I'm in the back of my mind thinking, gosh, I wonder if these people, if they could just try it, like you said, for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, how much all that stuff would be so unnecessary.
And I do look back and I'm like, even the trigeminal neuralgia, even the brain surgery, that was probably caused by inflammation.
Yep.
And if I had known about this then, my pain could have been eradicated without, I wonder. I mean, I don't know 100%.
Yeah, right.
I also think because I still had pain after my 3rd hip surgery, right? But I really tightened up my diet. Now I'm still eating, plant carbs and that stuff. But when I tightened up my diet even more, when I restricted even more, like some of the things, my hip pain went away. Now, if I touch any gluten, like some people can cheat and they're like, I don't feel anything. I can't cheat. I could probably cheat with plants on carnivore to go back to keto, but I can't cheat on keto and eat sad food. And the reason is because I can't walk for 2 weeks. Like it is so bad. It is so bad that I can't move it hurt. I have pain in every joint. Pain in joints I never had pain in before if I add it back in. So I just don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do a keto dessert or something like that, if it's made with keto products, but I cannot do anything gluten or certain spices or seasonings if they got bad stuff in them. Even on accident. I think at my 30-year high school reunion last year, they catered food. I only ate the meat, but there's something in the meat. And then I couldn't walk. And it's like weeks I can't walk. It's crazy. And here we go with the allergy thing, right? But what's funny is I have 4 cats and I'm allergic to them. Like I'm highly allergic to cats. And I can take medication and I'm fine with them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing
I don't
about
get it.
the gluten thing, my son has celiac disease, so he can't have gluten. And I heard the statistic that this doctor said that basically about 70 to 75% of people in the population have some sort of sensitivity to gluten, but most people just don't even know it. And they might have some kind of symptoms, some kind of pain or something that they never put two and two together and realize that it's a gluten sensitivity. So I think that's pretty interesting.
First time I realized it, so my sister-in-law passed away in 2021
I'm
from,
sorry.
of all things, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease from obesity and her sugar addiction. And I like to share her story a lot too, because she died because her liver failed. And my mother-in-law, the one we had to move her here during the time you weren't allowed to travel to other states, right? And they were in Ohio. They were in Middletown, Ohio. And so we were driving back and forth across the state line, and my sister-in-law was in the nursing home, right? And my husband almost got arrested because he's like, I'm going to say goodbye to my sister. And the nursing home said, you can't visit her because of the virus. And so he says, I'm going to see my sister, and you're going to, whether you like it or not. And they're like, we're going to call the cops. He's like, call the cops. So he was ready to bust through the doors of the nursing home and go see his sister. And the cops showed up. I was like, Dennis, let's just go. It's not worth it, whatever. And so we were at the funeral home planning her funeral. The nursing home called us back, and they let us see her. But that day was so terrible. We drove to in Ohio in one day, to and from, so 8 hours in the car. And then my husband almost got arrested. And this was like 2 years into keto or whatever. He's like, you want to get a pizza? I'm like, yeah. And so we went to our favorite place. I'm telling you, I ate half a pizza and a half a order breadsticks. So what is that, like 3 breadsticks just for me and I could eat a whole pizza. I am a eater. Like, I probably could out-eat the both of you on carnivore right now. I would love to have a competition to see how much we could eat, but but after about 3 or 4 days after I ate that pizza, the worst pain. The other thing is I've had eczema. My eczema came back, like on my fingers. My fingers were bleeding, cracking open. I couldn't walk. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the gluten. That's the moment I realized it was the gluten. It was when I cheated with the pizza. It's terrible. It's not worth it.
Isn't it fascinating how so many things seem to be affected by what we eat? And then there's so many people out there that if you say that, they think you're crazy. They're like,
Right.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
And
interesting?
They don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want to believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
what do
mental.
they call it? What's the word? It's cognitive dissonance. It's so, you can't believe it. It's so simple. It can't be that. There's no way it can be that causing, like I have one of my best friends, well, actually my best friend from school. We've been best friends for almost 50 years. His wife has experienced a lot of orthopedic problems, and she's waiting to have surgery and trying to get approved for surgery. And I asked her just to try and just do it for 30 days. Well, I don't see how eating can affect your bones. And I'm like, well, your bones, you have your bones, the cells die and new cells regrow, right? Where do you think those building blocks come from to build the new cells? It's what goes in your mouth. That's what builds your skin, your eyes, your kidneys. But talking about non-alcoholic fatty liver, I'm going to tell you 2 real quick stories. I used to work for the fire department when I was in Augusta, Georgia. It was my first real big boy job, if you will. I had an uncle that worked for the fire department. He got me on there, and every year we had to have a physical. And we'd go to physical, we get our blood work done, and the captain would call me in the office, and he'd say, John, you've got to stop drinking. You're going to drink yourself out of a job. You're starting to get cirrhosis of the liver. I don't drink, and I never have. I don't drink at all. This is before they understood non-alcoholic fatty liver. All cirrhosis of the liver, liver cancer, which cirrhosis of the liver almost always leads to liver cancer. And sometimes it's the other way around. But it's almost always because of what they thought was alcohol. Now they realize it's the sugar, and it's probably the sugars in the alcohol that's killing your liver. Well, so they were like, we're going to have to suspend you, put you off duty, send you for counseling. I said, you do what you got to do. I don't drink anything ever. I mean, I'm a goody two shoes. I've never drank. A few beers here and there, but I've never been drunk in my life. And back then I didn't do anything. So now they understand that there's non-alcoholic fatty liver. That's a relatively new finding in the medical field. So you know what I do? I take people from the hospital that are being discharged, and
Yep.
probably 25%, maybe 30% of the patients we pick up at the hospital, we take to hospice. Either they're going home with hospice to die, or they're going to one of the hospice centers that we service locally. And probably, I'm not even making this up, half of those patients that I have interacted with in the last year and a half are dying from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
That's crazy.
The last one was 36 years old, 36. The median age was about 55. I wish I was making
age
that.
36?
The lowest age was 36. That was just last week, and the person died the next day. But the median age of people that I'm taking to hospice is probably around between 55 and 57. And of those, the vast majority of them, it's because of their liver.
My sister-in-law
So
never drank either much. I mean,
Yeah.
occasional, but no.
I don't mean to change the subject, but I got to kind of change the subject a little bit here because when Johnny said I got my first big boy job, I want to know if I'm the only one that thought this. So let me know in the comments. Amy, let me know if you thought this, because I did see you smile. But the first thing that popped in my head was Johnny's face on like a little kid's body walking into his first job.
It's pretty much it.
Kind of something similar popped in my head. Like,
I guess it was my first job that had benefits, job with benefits and a retirement.
There you go.
Yeah, but I was married to my first wife at the time, and I was only married a short period of time, and the economy collapsed. This is in 89. This is like 88, 89, that time frame. That's how old I am. And the economy had really collapsed. I was working for a company called Builder Square. It was a precursor to Home Depot and Lowe's. It was owned by the Kmart Corporation. And I was going up through the ladder there. I was the regular salesman, then I was the electrical department manager, paint manager, and then the thing just went out of business, and I needed a job. I was married. My first wife had a child from a previous husband that I was trying to adopt. And so I needed a job quickly. I never thought about working in public safety, being a fireman, that I was going to be a salesman. I was going to sell insurance or something. But I needed a job, and I had an uncle that said, I can get you a job tomorrow. And I said, I'll take it. And I've been in public safety off and on, and that was in 1989, so 36 years. So kind of a happenstance there. But I guess when I say big boy job where I had to, put on a uniform and had benefits and a W-2 and all that stuff. But anyway, that's funny. But yeah, it's just amazing the amount of illness. So I was going to bring this up. I ran across this article earlier today on Facebook, and it's I don't know if this guy's a carnivore, but he puts a lot of stuff on here. This is a quote from a Dr. Kevin Stock, and I don't know who Dr. Kevin Stock is, but so what percentage of U.S. adults are metabolically healthy? And I don't know if they use Chat GPT or one of the other AI platforms, whatever. But they did a meta-analysis of it, and right now, or at the time that this was done, 12.2% of Americans are metabolically healthy. 87.8% of Americans have some sort of metabolic dysfunction. That's alarming. That's why people like Amy and Brian and myself and all the other influencers out here, Target Prime Rib. I mean, look at Target Prime Rib. His story was amazing. He had diabetes and had all the problems that go along with that, like having his toes amputated and having a lot of other issues. And he's a testimonial. We cannot stop preaching this message. It's too important. The world, especially the U.S., the West, Canada. But we had somebody on here last week. Was it Brian from South Africa or somewhere? So people all over the world need to hear this message because this is not specific to the lower 48, if you will. So we just really have to. There you go. Oh, he's a dentist, so George knows who he is. And George has got to look at George's story. I mean, there's so many more stories, and I think at one time I thought there was too many carnivore YouTube channels because it was kind of a saturated. There's not enough. We need 1,000 more. Because I'm going to reach somebody that Brian's not going to reach. Amy, you're going to reach probably a lot of people that Brian and I won't reach because you're a woman and we're guys. We have to get this message out. And a friend of mine, a young guy at work, said, "Well, John, if everybody gets healthy, you'll be out of a job." I said, "Yeah, then I win." I win. I'll find something else to do.
We'll find another job.
I'll cut grass or paint houses or something. But how cool would it be if we could shut down Merck and Pfizer and some of these companies that 100% depend on Americans or people being sick? You know, I hate to say that, but that's what we're up against. So we really got to just keep pushing this.
Yeah,
Said something about the
that's the
doctor.
thing.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, let me say this real quick, and then Amy, I'll let you go. But real quick, that's the thing. Like the pharmaceuticals and everything, because of them, the way that we're gonna get to more people is through a grassroots effort with more and more people doing this. And I'd say even past carnivore, because I'm accepting of people that are doing keto and stuff like that too.
Mhm.
That we need to promote those channels too. And I know, Amy, you used to be keto and now you're doing some carnivore, but you know, Greg, remember Greg and I used to do the lives together. He was more keto or ketovore than anything else. I think that anything like on that proper human diet spectrum, as Dr. Bray will say, we need to do more of a grassroots effort, because that's what's going to help to get more people to wake up and realize that they need to do something about their health. And now, Amy, take it to you over here.
I was just
gotta
going to
point the right way.
say, Johnny said something about the doctors being metabolically unhealthy. One thing I noticed when I was in surgery 3 weeks ago, okay, the two doctors, the anesthesiologist and the actual surgeon, which he was a bariatric surgeon, which I thought that was ironic that I was having hernia surgery with a bariatric surgeon, but they looked healthy. The other staff, the nurses, the other people that came in to assist me, I'm not putting anybody down, but they looked sick. Like, not just weight, but you can tell when someone's not well. Like, and these poor workers who are probably working stressful jobs in the medical field, and they work long hours, and they probably don't get a chance to eat well. Our hospital and medical workers are sick too. It's not just, and I felt terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. And the other funny thing was the doctor was somehow I mentioned carnivore before they put me under. And the last thing I remember before I got anesthesia, they're like, so you said you only eat meat, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, tell us what you eat. And I was like, bacon, beef. And then I was out. It was like, whatever.
Amy,
that
let
was
me ask
funny.
you a question now. So you've told us about your evolution in your diet, and you told us about all your medical history. And this is going to probably come as no surprise coming from me, but what type? And I know you're just 3 weeks post surgery, but let's say when you're completely healed from that, what type of resistance training or exercise, or what are you doing to as an adjunct to the diet, to your way of eating?
So I love lifting weights, but I'm also a chronic student. So what I'm finding myself, I went back to school a couple years ago in IT, right? And got
Mhm.
another certification. So I stopped weightlifting and replaced it with studying. Right now, I'm now in 2 coaching courses for the PhD and Kilts. I found out this morning I'm now in Kilts' class. So, and also I am, still having a little pain from the surgery, so I'm not really doing much other than trying to get my work done around the house, because that seems to be enough, right? I can't really lift more than 20 pounds, so weightlifting is definitely out right now. I like to just get movement, like, on the treadmill. I have some, I can't lift them right now, but I have some ankle weights here. I just bought some kettlebells before the surgery. I have kettlebells. I still have a gym membership to Planet Fitness, and it's only $10 a month. So I
Right.
keep it because I feel like that is for $10 a month. There's other machines there that I could use that aren't, you know, but I really want to start doing like farmers walks. I would love to get
Right.
one of them vests, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I probably will never sprint like you do. I'm terrified of re-tearing. My labrum, when they put it on an MRI, lights up like a Christmas tree. I have so much
Yeah. Yeah.
hardware in that hip, and
Sure.
and I know you've had a hip replacement, so it's probably no excuse, but mine is a little different in that it's the actual ligament that keeps tearing, and it's very thin, and it was to the point they were gonna use cadaver tissue. But he's like, it was like ripped jeans in there, and I'm just terrified of doing anything high impact.
Sure.
But I could lift weights, like you know, not heavy weights, but lower weights with reps. And I try to at least do movement like in the house. So I was doing the 10,000 step challenge before I got into the coaching course, but I like to do stacking, like habit stacking. So like every time you get up to go to the bathroom, walk up and down the stairs 5 times.
Right.
Or, sometimes when I'm on a phone call with a customer, because I work in IT, if I'm not on their computer, I get up and walk around. Just get up and walk around, get movement in. So kind of that's what I'm doing right now. I do have plans to do some resistance training. Also, while I'm on the treadmill, I have these bands on there.
Mhm.
And while I'm on the treadmill walking, I'm, doing resistance bands with my arms. So like that's habit stacking too. Um, Anything you can do while you're doing something else or right after you do something. If you get up to get a cup of coffee, do 5 push-ups or, a rep of 5 push-ups, 5 sit-ups. Just do something right after you say, every time I'm going to do this, do something else. So
When I drove an 18-wheeler, which I did for several years, once I got started in carnivore, every time I would stop for fuel, I would put the little nozzle in the tank, set it, and I would do 30 push-ups. And Brian can tell you, I was doing them push-ups, man. I was doing push-ups every day. It almost became addictive. But I tied those, like you said, it's stacked. I tied 2 things together. Putting fuel in the truck, which I had to do at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, depending on how many miles I drove. Because there I'm sitting. So I'm sitting for 9 to 11 hours driving. So every time I got out, I would usually walk around the truck several times, and then I would do 20 to 30 push-ups and maybe skip some rope. And I did it every time I got fuel to put those 2 things together. But Brian and I both have recently, Brian, I don't mean to speak for you, but we both recently have got into adding ferments to help with our gut microbiome. Tell me about that. Have you done any of that yet?
as a matter of fact, I've got some kimchi brewing as we speak. Now, this will be the first vegetable I've really eaten since carnivore, but people tell me when you ferment vegetables, that like reduces the oxalates in it. Am I wrong? Is that a true story?
Yeah, it'll
So
remove all the plant toxins and the majority, if not all, of the carbohydrate in the vegetable,
when I
as
was
long as you ferment
struggling,
it long
yeah,
enough.
when I was struggling with, I didn't even tell this story, but when I was struggling with all of the every other month having a cold flu, they put me on a antibiotic, one of the ones I can't take, which is like Keflex or something like that. And you're pointing up. So I also was caring for my mother-in-law in a nursing home. So I learned of something called C. diff, right? Which is a very serious bad juju. But I had all the symptoms of it, which means I was always in the bathroom. And that's all I'm going to
Yep.
say about that. But that's what C. diff is. But because I was in a nursing home all the time, they were very concerned that that's what I had. I was also dehydrated because I was in the back. So I was doing some research about fermented foods. And I made kimchi for the first time in like 2021 or 2022. And when I was making it, I'm like, this smells like death. Rotting vegetables on a counter is like not something you, and my husband, I had actually got sick. Like I was getting sick every month and a half while I was fermenting the kimchi. I'm like, Dennis, you have to help me burp this. We have to burp it every day. And burping it basically fills up a gas, right? And you have to take
Mhm.
something down and press all the bubbles out of it. It smelled like rotting. I don't know. I can't explain it. You got to do it. Trust the process. And so I thought, I'm going to die if I eat this, right? This is going to kill me. I'm all about refrigerating foods. And so I'm like, I'm going to try it on a Friday, right? At 3 p.m. Because if I die, at least I won't miss work. So I'm like, I did. I ate it at 3 p.m. And the first time I ate it, my stomach felt a little weird, but I didn't get sick. And so then I ate it the next day. And then I ate it. I'm like, actually, and kimchi, for those of you who don't know, is cabbage. It's a Korean dish. They put this gochugaru, I can't really say it, whatever it is, the red pepper flakes, and you can make it as spicy or as not spicy as you like. I like hot foods. Actually, that's one thing I'm missing on carnivore is I miss like Mexican food with spices. So, but I can have my kimchi with the hot Korean red pepper flakes in there. And I use different vegetables because the Napa cabbage is higher in carbs. And I
Mhm.
don't know if fermenting reduces the carbs or if it still has the same carbs in there as when. So I use regular cabbage. I use red radishes. I put cucumbers in there and they just like rot down nicely. and, and actually, cucumber kimchi is a thing too with the Koreans. So
Right.
yeah, I've got some brewing right now. I'm making a video on that with a recipe, with my recipe, so you guys will see how it. Because people have been asking me, how do you make your kimchi?
Hmm.
So
Well, Brian and I follow Dr. Sean O'Mara. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff. And so he talks about when you're eating the carnivore diet, if you take a bite of meat at the same time while you're chewing it, put some, in your case, like kimchi in there and chew them together. And Brian had a really bad cold, the flu, several months ago, took antibiotics, and it completely messed him up. And Brian, why don't you take it from there?
yep.
Yeah. So actually, I had bronchitis.
Bronchitis.
They said it was bacterial bronchitis, so I need an antibiotic. And they gave me an antibiotic, and I think I took it for like 3 days. I was going to the bathroom like crazy, and I started getting joint pain, which I hadn't had in like 3 years. So I did some research and found that antibiotics kill your gut microbes that eat oxalates. And I don't know what I was eating that could have had oxalates, to be honest. I think one day I did have something that had some onions that might have done it, but something must have caused that to happen. And I stopped. I did 3.5 days of the antibiotic. I stopped because I was going to the bathroom like crazy too. And it
I
took
know.
me a long time to recover from that. But I had done 3 years of carnivore, and I said that in 3 years, like, I feel really good, like I go to the bathroom regularly. I don't seem to have really gut issues or anything like that. I don't need to do anything like ferments or anything like that. But with this, I started to do some ferments to try and get my gut back in order. And I found that I've never felt better in the end. So it's like one of those things where I was that person that was like, yeah, I don't need to do anything like that. I'm doing carnivore. I don't need to do anything like that. But sometimes you don't realize something might even make you feel even better. Sometimes we get that, that fake sense of, oh, we feel so good because we're doing carnivore, right? That type of thing. So, Dr. Sean O'Mara calls it the living carnivore diet. I'd say it probably took me about a month or so to kind of get my gut back in order. I dealt with the pain in my toes or my foot, not my toes, but the top of my foot. I would get basically I was swollen on my right foot, for like the top of my right foot, for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, somewhere in there. And then I had some joint pain in my fingers, just trying to bend your joints, that kind of stuff. And that was something like I didn't have anything for 3 years. So that was all from the antibiotic and how it destroyed my gut. And now I'm not going to go back, and I will say I don't eat a lot of ferments. So I kind of follow what Dr. Sean O'Mara does, and I get multiple different kinds. So I'll do kefir, I'll do yogurt, cottage cheese. Sometimes I'm doing sauerkraut, and I'll have just a little bit. So you put 3 or 4 of those together, and it's probably at most like a half of a serving combined. So even if there is like a gram of carb in there per serving, it's more like a half of a gram of carb, right? And I just dip my meat in it and eat it that way. And I do that with all my meals now. And it's kind of hard to explain, but like my gut just feels so good, and it makes me feel so good, and it makes me feel better than before. Oh, and the other thing I do is I will put some apple cider vinegar in my water. The kind that says with mother, that's what I got from Dr. O'Mara. So that's, I don't I pretty much drink, anytime I drink water, I've got a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. So, and it's amazing for me.
That's
They're
awesome.
they're finding out now, and that, this is research is ongoing. But and if you follow the medical literature and the medical research like I do, because it's part of my job, the gut microbiome, they're calling it the second brain of the body. It actually controls more processes within the body, more hormones, more chemicals than the pituitary gland does. It's like a second brain. So if your gut microbiome is destroyed from the SAD diet or from antibiotics or whatever, you really can't be healthy. Your immune system lives in your gut. I don't know if you know that, but 75 to 80% of your immune system actually lives in your intestines, in your gut. So that's something that Brian and I, we both have started doing it about the same time. And Aswani, it's like we leveled up. We were all, I was like Brian, I thought, man, this can't get any better. I started doing ferments. And like Brian, I'll take kefir, for example. I put a little bit in a little bitty bowl. I cut a piece of steak or a piece of hamburger, and I just dip it in there just a little bit. I'm talking about just a smidge, but it's got billions and billions of live active cultures, right? And then Brian and I Brian found it and shared it with me, this cottage cheese called Good Culture. And it actually says on the container, billions of live and active cultures. And so like Dr. O'Mara says, it's the living carnivore diet, because we need those microbes in our gut. That's how we break down food, and that's how we become a healthier version of ourselves. So I would encourage anybody watching this, if you haven't tried, and I love sauerkraut, so I'll have a full serving of sauerkraut. But I buy it at the store, then I bring it home and I wrap it in a towel, and I put it in a dark closet and leave it for a month. So it can continue to ferment, because if it sits on the grocery store shelf at Walmart, for example, under that bright light, that kills some of the fermentation. So I'll bring it home, wrap it in a towel, put it in a closet, let it sit for a month. And I'll eat a big old jar of sauerkraut in the course of a month. But when it comes to the kefir or the sauerkraut, I do a lot of sour cream, and the yogurt, like Brian, I'll just have maybe a half a serving. And I cannot tell you, like for me, I was still having gut issues. Even though I've been carnivore for 2.5 years, I still didn't have great bathroom habits. Since I've gone to using the ferments, and with pretty much every meal, I'm as regular as clockwork. You could set your watch. I have a normal, healthy movement every day at about 8:30 every morning. Every day, so you can set your watch by it, and my gut feels good. I don't have any bloating, no GERD. I don't know how to explain it. I just have a healthy feeling gut, and this is a relatively new phenomenon, because for most of my life, I suffered with GERD and with bloating and gas and stuff like that. But they're just adding the ferments and made a big difference, bigger than I would have thought.
Okay, we have 2 questions I want to get to real quick.
Sure.
First question that came in is, why is it that y'all have oxalate issues and I do not? I mean, I can speak up if you
the
want,
vegevore. She
I have a
eats
lot of
veggies.
experience with this. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a very good experience with this. So back in 2017, I did a diet that was basically kind of sort of like keto-ish, but with a lot of vegetables. A lot. So there was a lot of like baby spinach, stuff like that. And I lost a lot of weight actually doing that diet in like a 9-month period. But one of the things I did every day is I had a breakfast shake with a cup of baby spinach. And I also worked out a lot, and I was always sore. Couldn't figure out why. I'd have foot flare-ups. My foot would swell, my big toes, stuff like that. I couldn't figure out any of that stuff, why it was happening. Now that I have more knowledge, that I've researched and so forth, I know that baby spinach is high in oxalates, and that was probably my problem. I, for some reason, have an issue with oxalates. Not everybody does for some reason. I don't know why. Their body's able to get rid of the oxalates. But the problem that people have when they have the problem with oxalates is the dumping. It tries to dump them all, and it goes through to joints, and it hurts your joints. If I, in the last few years at all, if I try and eat some peanut butter, I will start feeling stiffness in my joints. And again, peanuts are high in oxalates. So there are certain foods I know I have to stay away from. Now, peanut butter isn't carnivore anyway, but that just happens to me.
your sister, kidney stones, right? They tested the kidney stone, Sherry. Tested the kidney stone. That's kidney stones are a form of oxalate dumping as well. They tested her kidney stone and it came back positive for oxalates. So that goes to what Brian is saying. Some people can eat plants. I, for the most part, could eat plants until, I decided to not eat them. And I felt even better. I felt great when I was eating them, and I feel even more amazing when I'm not eating them. So, maybe the kimchi will be a good compromise so that I can have an occasional fermented veggie. But anyway, I just wanted to throw in the kidney stone thing.
Yeah, I had kidney stones several times, and my sister has them chronically. She doesn't do carnivore, and since I've gone carnivore, I haven't had any kidney stones, no kidney pain, nothing. As a matter of fact, speaking of kidneys, and I don't know if this is related at all, but my kidney function prior to going carnivore, I was at stage 3 kidney failure. I'm on my way to dialysis, and I had my labs done back in June, normal kidney function. So from stage 3A kidney failure to normal kidney function. And I haven't been perfect. If you follow my channel on my journey, I screw up. And like you were saying earlier, Amy, I'm those people, and it's to my detriment. I can cheat. I can have a donut. I can have a pancake or a waffle or something, and I don't have any. I'm sure if I did that with regularity, I'd go back to the way I was. But every now and then, if somebody has a donuts at work, I'll grab one because I'm too stupid not to, too weak not to, and I don't have any side effects. It just slows down my weight loss and it causes some weight gain. But I don't have all those symptoms like Brian would have. Like Brian is if he has something he knows he shouldn't have, he pretty much feels it pretty right away. And most people do. I'm just blessed and cursed because I wish it was worse. If it was worse, it would be more of a deterrent for me to cheat. But I don't have those. But part of the thing about the vegetables is I just don't like vegetables. I don't enjoy them.
I love vegetables. It's hard. I do love vegetables.
When I would have vegetables,
vegetable person.
Yeah, I used to make when I was eating vegetables, I would make Brussels sprouts. When I would drive my 18-wheeler, we had this little lunchbox oven. You plug it into a 12-volt like cigarette lighter outlet, and it would heat up to like 300 degrees. I would buy Brussels sprouts, put some water in there, and put some Frank's Red Hot chicken wing sauce all over them, and then put the aluminum foil over it. So I had hot wing flavored Brussels sprouts. That's the only way I could get them down. And I thought I was being healthy by eating these Brussels sprouts, but they were drenched in hot sauce. Either that or bacon grease or fatback or something. Yeah.
So you picked the stankiest vegetable. Why?
You know what? This is funny because we did a live stream once. This is probably, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I was like, Brussels sprouts, like they're so nasty. Who possibly even likes those? And Johnny's like, I used to eat them all the time. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, we do have another question, but before that, I want to go real quick to Rick. He says he's very sensitive to the veggies, but he can eat the fermented cabbage and so forth. And I think that's because when you ferment it, it takes all the toxins out of the plant. So I think that's probably why he can eat that and it doesn't affect him like normal vegetables do. Okay, the other question here, I guess this is more towards me, but I'll be really quick with this. I know it's been a while, Brian. How did your leg heal up? It's been doing really good. I'd say I'm probably, I don't know, 95, 98% at this point. For about a week now, I've been riding an exercise bike and getting the blood flowing a bit, stuff like that. I'm at a point that a lot of the times I don't even wear the compression sleeve anymore. I'm not ready to run yet. But it's amazing. Is it 5 weeks or 6 weeks? It's 6 weeks.
I think 6 weeks today. Yeah.
It's 6 weeks since I tore my hamstring. And it should be like a 2 to 3 month recovery. And I'm pretty much basically recovered. So thanks for asking.
And you're 51 years old and you're not an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have another question. Let me find it. I saw something. Yeah, here we go. I have none of those issues. Eat spinach and peanuts too. Been eating this way for 20 years. I'm 69, no meds ever. Eat mostly vegetables, probably 80% veg, 20% meat. Yeah, and you know what? Some people can do that and other people can't. It's just the differences in people. And that's why I say like really people have to find what works for them and they need to um do what's right for them. If you're able to eat vegetables and that works for you, then that's great. And it's probably a lot better for you than the standard American diet because when you're eating vegetables, most of the time, unless you're getting them from a canned, they're whole food, right? They're not processed. So I think that is a huge part of our problem in today's society is all the processed foods and the seed oils and stuff like that.
Concerns
But
me
also,
about
Brian,
vegetables is the glyphosate. The only thing is
yeah.
that concerns me is they're sprayed with glyphosate. And
Yeah.
how do we know the organic ones aren't just labeled that and not sprayed with glyphosate too? I'm skeptical.
Yeah. It's a lot better if you can grow your own vegetables in your own garden, right?
And another thing too, Brian, I'll just say this. And Sherry Nevada Pup, I appreciate the comment, but have you ever tried carnivore? Because like I said, I never tried the ferments. I thought I was feeling fine. I tried ferments and it leveled up. I've tried vegetables. I've tried all that. And I think Brian makes a great point. It's the ultra processed food. And then, like Amy was saying, all the chemicals, we spray glyphosate on all these plants, all these vegetables, so that other animals won't eat them. And then we eat them.
Yeah, that's true. We have another question. I think this might be towards you, Johnny.
Okay.
How are the oops moments going?
Well,
I know you recently talked about some oops moments.
I had a pretty good week because obviously I put a video out last Wednesday, and then Brian, you and I did our live last Wednesday. I was carnivore 4 full days of the 7. There's a lot going on at work. We're healthcare right now. We're so unbelievably understaffed. We're working like crazy. And my wife and I went out of town. So we did our live last Wednesday, Brian. And then my wife and I went out of town that Thursday and Friday. And then I worked Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and right back here today. I've got to really prioritize meal prep. I get at work and the big bosses came and took me out to lunch a couple of days, and we're all sitting there eating, and I don't want to be the odd man out, and they brought bread to the table and all that stuff. So I haven't been perfect, but I weighed 260.0 last Wednesday. I put out a video a little earlier today, kind of phoned it in. It wasn't a great video, but I weighed 260.4 today. So between last Wednesday and today, I actually gained, I don't know, half a pound, or maybe it was 0.6 of a pound, whatever. But I had a great day today. I've been perfect today. Bacon and eggs for breakfast. And Amy, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos, but I do these things where I eat the same thing over and over again. So I get a pound of grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef. I brown it in a pan with some Redmond's real salt, and I love black pepper, so I put a lot of black pepper in there. Then I put like 6 tablespoons of sour cream, Daisy sour cream, mix it all together. Then I put a bunch of pickled jalapenos in there, and I have that. And I've probably had it 12 of the last 16 days. I eat it all the time. I had it today. It's basically $8 for the meal, and it's a pound of meat, and it's 85-15. So it's a little lean, but when I was putting cheese in there, but I'm swearing off cheese. Starting this week, I'm swearing off cheese. I'm going to start with that. But that way I get that. It's almost like, because the sour cream and the jalapenos give it that Mexican or that taco feel. And so I guess that's a plant, because they're not fermented. The jalapenos are pickled, but I'm eating those. So I guess there's some plant material. But I love it. Yeah. But at least they're pickled. Yeah.
So Amy, I have a question for you, and I'm going to start it by telling a quick story. Okay. I just finished my first 48-hour fast this evening, and I think overall it went pretty well. So my question for you is, do you do any type of fasting like that?
I do intermittent. I've considered doing longer. The longest I've fasted was 48 hours before my colonoscopy. And actually, did it more because I was so scared of the prep. It was my first one. And I'm like, I don't want to go through that. Can I just not eat for a couple days? But you still go through it anyway. Not eating for a couple days doesn't stop the colonoscopy prep from happening. But especially because, I've gained weight on carnivore. I've really thought about introducing a regular, even if it's not eating for 24 hours or not eating for 48, every other week, or, I don't know. So I have considered it. I normally do intermittent fasting. So right now, and I'm hungry all the time. I think my leptin and ghrelin uh hormones are off. I really do. Because when I first started carnivore, I was eating ridiculous amounts of food and I was still hungry, okay? And so and I was gaining like every week. I'd step on the scale. I'm like gaining, gaining, gaining. I'm like, I didn't lose 110 pounds to like gain. Now, the benefits, I'm feeling better, the energy's there, so I'm trusting the process, right? I just think being a menopausal woman in my, almost 50s, there's other things going on that, I think I also probably reduced my metabolism when I did PSMF for 4 years. So my body was used to a less, I don't want to say caloric intake, but it was used to a lesser amount of food. And so, but I'm like, it seems like no matter how much I eat on carnivore, I'm still not full. And so this thing where everyone says eat till you're comfortably full, I mean, is there a point where you just gotta stop eating? Because I really want to have a contest with someone to see if I can out eat anybody, like just have a ridiculous amount of food. And I really want to know how because I started tracking for PhD and it was like 4 to 5,000 calories and over 300 grams of fat. And it was like I could still eat more. I'm like, I mean, but so I'm like, well, maybe doing some fasting. I usually fast till noon. I have my first meal at noon, and then I have another meal at dinner, and then usually by like 9 o'clock, I'm starving. Like 9 o'clock at night, I'm just
Yep.
hungry. I wake up hungry, and then I go to bed hungry. But
Yeah, I think so I've been doing carnivore for 3.5 years now. When I first started, I don't think I necessarily knew when I was full. And I think
Right.
some of that is just because of the carbs and what it can do with your brain and so forth, right? And so I kind of had the same problem. And then eventually I think I got to a point that I kind of knew. And I got into a rhythm of that I would basically just eat when I was hungry again. And sometimes it would be once a day, sometimes it'd be twice a day, but usually it was like once a day there. The interesting thing is when I injured my hamstring, things have changed again. And like I want to eat all the time. And I've been eating
you're
two
healing.
two times a day. Which is kind of weird that I did the fast, but I feel like it was a good time to try the fast. So I did that. And I do have some interesting experiences that happened with it, like where I did feel hungry and then it kind of went away. And that was like around the 24-hour mark. And then the last 24 hours, I didn't feel hungry really at all, which was interesting. And I still wasn't hungry when I decided to eat at 48 hours, but I didn't really want to go longer for my very first time doing anything more than a 24-hour intermittent fast. So that's what I did. But yeah, I think sometimes it's difficult. And I know like Dr. Anthony Chaffee will say this, like, if you're having a hard time figuring out when you're really full, just do nothing more than salt on your meat. And if you start getting to the point that it doesn't taste really, really good like it did before, that's when you're full. You might not realize it with your brain, but that's when you're full. And that's when you should stop.
It tastes so good. Like I don't have that problem. I'm like, I think I just need to like put a bunch of meat in front of me and see how much I actually can eat just once. I just want to see like, is it a half a cow? Like I don't know. I mean, I was tracking and I'm like, this is a ridiculous amount of food. I was eating 3 meals when I first started, 3 meals a day, and just I was eating a dozen eggs every day. Like I was eating a carton of eggs every day, and I'm like, I can eat more eggs. Like I can eat more meat and eggs. This is great. And I was like, they say you can eat whatever you want on carnivore as long as it's carnivore, but I don't
Is it
know.
possible, Amy? Is it possible you were healing
I'm
from
probably
all this
still
surgery?
healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
probably still healing. I'm only regulating myself because I'm like, okay, maybe I can build myself up to eating more, but I don't want to start right out of the gate from protein spare modifying fasting to eating, a whole half a cow in one day
Sure.
because I'm trying to just maybe build myself up a little bit. I don't know.
I guess I was referring to all the surgeries you've had with your hip and
Yeah.
everything. You know, your body is just beat up on the inside because every time they cut you open, that's a major trauma to your body. And maybe when you first started carnivore and were eating so much, kind of like Brian, you know, your body needs resources. It needs resources to heal. Maybe I don't know. I'm just throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. You know, because that could be it. You know, I know when I got down to 225 last year. Was the smallest I was, and I was killing. I was doing fantastic. And when I got down there, it was the smallest I'd been since probably the 10th grade, which is over 40 years ago. Um, I was ravenously hungry. Oh my gosh, I didn't have a whole lot of fat left to burn, and now I'm more anxious. I eat when I'm anxious more than when I'm hungry. My hunger signals have kind of gotten crossed up lately because I've not been solid. But when I was solid, and had lost all that weight and was working out every day and was doing everything, man, I was ravenously hungry all the time. Like I could not find the end of my hunger, but I was still losing weight.
So really quick, I think she's talking about your channel, Amy, because I think I saw somewhere else where she mentioned that. So
Yeah.
she's having trouble subscribing. I'm not sure.
Should be a
If you
subscribe button.
If you go to youtube.com/@KetoRockstars, that should take you there. So I guess let us know if you actually get there and you hit the subscribe button, what happens? Let us know.
Because they're watching from my channel, aren't they?
Mhm.
She's on either your channel or Johnny's. I can't tell. I just know
Okay.
it's not my channel.
'Cause I pinned both of your channels at the top. I pinned both of their channels at the top of my channel, so please subscribe to those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the full link that you just put in there.
Yeah.
At Keto Rockstars.
Amy, I've seen some of the animated things that you've done with the music. That's really cool.
Yeah. So if you guys want those done, send me your photo and your name to my email address, and I'm doing a contest once a month to draw one every month, because if not, I would just be quitting my full-time job and doing them for nothing. But and then some people are paying me a really small amount to get theirs done earlier. Like I said, I have to kind of mitigate it because I do have a full-time job and
Right.
I'm in 2 classes. But send me your headshot to my email with what name you want, and I will put you on the list.
That's cool. I watched the one today you put out a couple of days ago, and I think did you put out one for George too today or recently?
I did. George and
Yeah, I saw
Lainey,
that.
yes, they paid me to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
theirs,
George,
and
yeah.
you inspired me to do the music because I know that you do AI music, right? And so I'm
Right.
like, where does make this great music? And so I started figuring out how to do that. So I'm making everyone a song too.
That's cool. I made Brian a song, Brian the Sprinter.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of. So she was trying to subscribe to our channels.
Oh,
And it was not working.
okay, hold on.
I'm sorry.
I was just pulling that up. Here, this one is Brian's, so I'll paste this. I was doing that, but it's hard to. Okay, so that's Brian's. Let me go to Johnny's. I'll post it in my chat so they can see it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I've seen a lot of comments about counting calories, and this is an interesting one. I think in theory, the idea behind calories, and I'll just give my thoughts real quick and I'll let you guys speak to it. But I think the idea behind calories Makes sense. But what you need to understand is that calories are a measurement of heat, and you can't eat energy. What you can eat is mass. So what you should be looking at is mass, how much you're eating in terms of grams and so forth. But the other piece of it is, and maybe this is partly calories, because I don't know, probably gram wise, it's probably not the same. But I saw somebody else put this in here. 200 calories of a cookie is not the same as 200 calories of meat.
Right.
And it has a lot to do with how your body can digest that. So that's what I'm going to say. Amy, let's go to you, and then we'll let Johnny.
So Lewis is posting in here, and Lewis and I just did a live stream together, and we're kind of on the same page here. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. 200 calories of a cookie. We all know that you can eat Oreo cookies and lower your cholesterol and do all kinds of cool stuff. 200 of, calories of a cookie is not the same as 200 calories of meat. We're all in agreement on it. However, the only metrics we have to measure is our macros, right? Fat, protein, and carbs, and calories. Those are the only so when we're tracking, and I'm in class with Kim Howerton, and she basically said for some people, they have to say at 5,000 calories a day, I'm gaining weight. At 4,000 calories a day, I'm gaining weight. At 3,000 calories a day, I break even. I think Kelly Hogan's like this too, maybe. And then at 2,800 calories a day, that's where I start to lose. Unfortunately, it's the only measure of that we have. So where you can say, let's adjust this. Instead of one burger patty or three burger patties, I'm eating 2 burger patties. You just move it down, which is going to move the calories down, right? It's the only unit of measurement we have. So for some people like myself who are gaining and we're not meeting our goals, we might have to track and we might have to tweak things down a little bit. And calories is one of those things, unfortunately. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Johnny.
All right, Amy, you're wrong. Because you're right. From an all right, so you have input and you have output, right? You can measure and count what's going in. You cannot, our metabolism changes over the course of the day. If you're cold, if you're hot, if you're stressed, if you're walking, if you have a fever, if you're healing from injury, if you've just had surgery, all that changes the caloric expenditure. We don't have our caloric, expenditures like that. So yes, you can adjust the calories coming in and out. And if you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, get the exact amount of sleep and have the exact amount of stress, then maybe you do have an isoelectric way of calorie expenditure. But there's 2 sides of every equation. One side is what's coming in, but the other side is what's going on. And that's where the calories in, calories out thing falls apart. Because we don't put off the exact same. If you have a fever, your body, if you have a fever of 100, the amount of energy that is used to go from 98.6 to 100.1 and a fever can be 1,000 calories in a day. So yeah, you can have an isoelectric or straight line for calories going in. We can't control for calories going out. If you're under a tremendous amount of stress and your cortisol level goes up, that affects your caloric burn. If it's freezing outside, if you go get in your car, and I know you've had a bunch of snow, I've seen the pictures, you've had all that snow and it's freezing where you are, right? You go outside and stay outside for 15 minutes and get your, because you can measure the amount of CO2 that you breathe out, and that'll tell you your caloric burn. And then go out there when it's 70 degrees and sunny and measure that caloric burn. That's not, exactly. That's where the calories in, calories out falls apart. Yeah. But to your right, that as far as input, that's really all the measurement we have. Now, I'm going to contradict myself here. The reason I'm cutting out cheese is because I think I get carried away with cheese, and cheese is very calorically dense. When I make that hamburger stuff I was talking about with the jalapeno peppers, I'll put, I shred up a bunch of cheese in there. I went back and looked and said, that's like 500 calories of cheese. And it didn't really change the quality of my taste buds. I didn't, it was nice to have it in there, but I could have sprinkled some as a garnish and got the same thing and saved myself 400 of those calories, right? So I don't want to be too contradictory there, but I do. My schedule pretty much day to day looks about the same as far as how much calories I burn. So I'm going to start reducing the amount of cheese, or actually I'm going to cut out cheese, hopefully for between now and the end of the year, and see if that can help change the circumference of my belly. Because it's calories that I don't need. I don't know that I'm gaining anything from it. It really, with the jalapenos in there, the cheese gets lost in the heat of the jalapenos. And so if I go and get burger patties at Wendy's or burger patties at McDonald's, I'm going to start just not doing the cheese at all. Still do the bacon, still do the eggs, but that's cheese is so calorically dense, as is like the sour cream and things like that, because I use full fat, obviously. Fat, as you know, has 9 calories per gram, where carbohydrates and protein has 4 calories per gram. So it's over 2 times as many calories in fat, and cheese is basically pure fat, right? There's very little anything else in cheese. So I'm going to reduce my caloric intake by getting rid of cheese. Hopefully, between now and the end of the year, I'm going to, I didn't have any in my food. I haven't had any cheese today at all. So I'm going to reduce my calories by reducing cheese. So anyway, that was my little spiel.
So Bacon Runner says, but how can you describe to someone else how much you eat besides saying calories? And that's the thing, right?
Yeah. Like that's the thing.
That's what people understand. And that's what it's been told for so long, that's what you got to kind of say. Like it's confusing to not say that. In the carnivore world, a lot of people just don't even count calories at all. And they just say, I'm eating this, whatever. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Now, Scooby says the energy is trapped in the chemical bonds of the molecules. Whatever macronutrient you are eating, it is in the electron in the bonds. But here's the thing. Energy doesn't weigh anything. So when people are talking about calories, they say, I have to limit my calories to lose weight. And if you eat too many calories, you gain weight. But calories are energy, like you said there. It's not the actual calorie. It's the mass of the food and how much your body uses, how much you have left over. Think of this. This might be a little TMI, but if you weigh yourself and then you go to the bathroom and take like a really big dump and weigh yourself again, you're going to weigh less because you just got rid of some of that mass, not energy, mass.
I don't, but women also retain water and all kinds of other stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's like, I expect that. I'm like, I tell my husband this all the time. I lost 2 pounds. He's like, you just pooped. I'm like, no, I didn't.
I tell you, I retain water too. If I eat any carbs, I retain water. I will gain 2 or 3 pounds in a day just by eating some carb.
Yeah. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate that you take in, your body holds 3 to 4 grams of water to suspend that carbohydrate in. That's why when you cut out carbs, you pee, because your body doesn't need all that water. And unfortunately, when you pee out, when you cut your carbs and you pee out, you're peeing out sodium, potassium, magnesium, and other minerals too. But your carbohydrates are suspended in water. It gets back to the bond that he was talking about. So when you cut out carbs, you're going to lose a lot of water weight. That's why it says when you lose 10 pounds in the first week, oh, that's just water weight. And they're right. But the reason, the science behind that is the carbohydrates are suspended in water. Cut carbs, the water goes away. Can you imagine, Brian, if you had a car? So you got the same car, right? It's a Dodge Ram truck. It's a Ram truck. And you put 40 gallons of fuel in that truck and you drive it, right? And you know how many miles per gallon you get. Go out there and let half the air out of all 4 tires. Put the same amount of fuel, drive the same distance. Is your mileage going to be better or worse? It's going to be different. Even though the input was the same, the output was different.
Yep. I think there's a lot of comments going out here. I did this comment already. Yeah, we did that one. If you stay busy, I think curbs your, if you're staying busy, it curbs your hunger. Thoughts, as I think brain controls the body. I think in terms of your brain, Yeah, your brain doesn't
hunger.
send the signals.
I actually think if I go
Okay.
lay down and take a nap, that's the only thing that will curb my hunger is not being awake. But
Really?
again, I think I know I'm going through menopause, and so that's probably like it. What I'm experiencing is not what Johnny and Brian are going to experience. Trust me. Like I can't help it. It's just a thing.
I know when I before I went to work at where I work now, I worked at Lowe's. I worked in the paint department and the hardware department at Lowe's, and I was busy. I mean, we were just, from the time you walked in to the time you went to lunch or whatever, there was very, very little downtime. And retail, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. And I was always trying to go and help out in other departments. And it was easier to control my hunger. Now I sit in the ambulance and we pick somebody up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we take them to Raleigh. I'm just sitting there, if the patient takes a nap or whatever, or if we're driving back, and my mind begins to wonder, and I think I feel hunger. Oh man, I'm really hungry, but I think I'm just bored. I think if I were really, really busy, moving around, walking around, working on a project, I probably wouldn't think I was hungry. The cleaner I eat, the better I am at deciphering when I'm hungry and when I'm bored or anxious.
Yeah.
Change for me too over time.
I just want to say real quick, Scooby, if you're open to looking at the other side of things, check out Professor Bart Kay. He has degrees in exercise science, human biology, and I think something else. And he can explain it to you very well by reading some of his videos, how it's not the calories that matter, it's the mass. So I'll just say, if you're open to that, go check him out.
Do you have to weigh all your food? Like, do you have to get a scale and weigh all your food then? And so you need to know if you're eating a pound of ground beef or 2 pounds or 3 pounds.
So if you need to track, that is the ideal thing, because like with carnivore, what they teach you is that if you need to track your macros or whatever, make sure that you're eating enough protein, whatever. Yeah, there's like a certain amount of grams of protein that you should be eating, and grams of fat, so you could track. Most people, especially after a little while, they don't worry about that anymore, and they kind of know what to eat. And like, if you're worried about like getting enough fat or not getting enough fat, it can be as simple as, if you're not going to the bathroom enough, you need to add more fat. If you're going with loose stools, you need to take a little less fat, because everybody's different. So you can't say like it's going to be exactly this much or even this percentage of protein, this percentage of fat, because it is for this person, because your percentage can be different because everybody's body is different.
It's brought up a good point. This goes back to what Johnny said with expenditure and temperatures, and if it's cold outside and all this other stuff. Mass and calories are linked. So wouldn't you have to change the amount of mass you're eating if your expenditure is different as well? I mean, so instead of eating 2 pounds of ground beef, if you're not burning as much energy, wouldn't you have to go down to 1 pound of ground beef? So isn't that a similar measurement as calories? If you're not expending as much energy, you still need to reduce the amount of mass you're eating.
Yeah.
I mean, logically.
So here's
how
the
is
interesting
mass-
thing. Here's the interesting thing is, we know how many grams there is in a piece of meat, right? You know that. You can check that, right? Technically speaking, in order to see how many calories exactly are in a piece of meat, because when you see those labels, it's not necessarily exact.
Right.
In order to see that, it has to go through what the process for a calorie, which is burning it, right? I can't remember the exact temperature or whatever, all that whole technical science term, but whatever. So it no longer exists, so you can't eat it anymore, because you technically can't eat a calorie. And so, okay, so I'll say this. I'm somewhat on the spectrum, so this topic gets me that a little bit. I want to be really technical, and technically you can't eat a calorie. But I understand where people come, like that's what they know is calorie. And we try and tie it, but you can't take one piece of meat and say it is this exact amount of calories because they did this process with another piece of meat and that was the exact amount of calories because it's a different one. You know what I'm saying? So
I just
again,
Googled it because
Professor Barkay is really smart with this stuff. Go ahead, John.
When I went to fire science school, we had to learn all this stuff. Believe it or not, this because it gets to what burns. It says so. A calorie represents the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius.
Yeah.
So think about this. If you had a whole sleeve, remember those rice cakes? Anybody ever had those rice cakes? Remember those? You could have a whole sleeve of rice cakes. That's a lot of bulk, right? Or you could have one small ribeye with a lot of fat in it. There's more bulk in this. There's more calories in the smaller one. So you put in more bulk, but those things only had 15 calories per or whatever it was. So you could have a whole sleeve of rice cakes or one hamburger patty. You've had more bulk here, but more calories here.
We're talking just about ground beef. And let's say Amy eats 3 pounds of ground beef and she gains weight. Okay. If Amy's goal is to lose weight, should Amy reduce the quantity or the mass of ground beef she's eating to lose weight?
Maybe.
But if Amy decides she's going to walk 5 miles a day, she can eat the same amount of ground beef and lose weight because of expenditure.
And here's the other thing. If you eat too little for your body, you can actually gain weight. When people think, well, in terms of calories, I should be losing weight, but you can actually gain weight or stall because of that.
Yeah. There's hormones. Yeah. There's a lot of things that play into it. Hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
I remember the show, The Biggest Loser. There was a lady that was on there and she was really working really hard and trying real hard. And she was really upset and she didn't know why she wasn't losing weight. And Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels told her she needed to eat more calories to lose more weight because she had damaged her metabolism so bad by starving herself so much. So she was eating more calories and losing weight. And it worked. She ended up going to the 5th or 6th place on the show or whatever. So, and you got insulin, you have cortisol there. Like you said, there's so many hormones that come into play there. I wish it was as cut and dry as 2 + 2 = 4, but it's really not because, like, say if you lived in Alaska and it was freezing and you lived in an igloo, you're going to need to take in more calories than if you live in Hawaii or in California where the temperature's mild all the time. Even the same person, you know what I'm saying? Because your body has to stay at 98.6 and you have to burn calories, expend energy to keep your body at 98.6.
Just need to go out for a couple hours in a blizzard.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a couple of, I think they're questions here that I want to get to. Gemmet has a question, but she also had something here about Barkay. She'll never listen to Barkay. And I get that because he comes across very interesting. I can tell you that is completely 100% a character. And he started doing that on his channel. And then he kind of got pigeoned into where he couldn't really change. He tried changing once and it didn't go well. He is not like that in real life. But the thing is, he really knows what he's talking about. But I get how he comes across because the character he's playing on YouTube.
He comes across as abrasive.
Yeah. So here's the question she had, though. I poop every day. I'm hoping that's a good thing. I will say, personally, I think it's a good thing because I do it every day. And I know that there are carnivores out there that say that they don't poop for like 3, 4, 5 days at a time. And I'm not sure how that happens. I mean, maybe and I can't say I'm eating too much fat because it's not like it's loose, runny, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have that same thing. I go every day. And like Johnny said, it's usually the same time a day.
But Brian, before we added the ferments in, I was like that. I would go 3 or 4 days every week without having a bowel movement. But since I added the ferments, I mean, like I say, you could set your watch to it. And I didn't feel bad gut wise before. I just feel better now. But without adding the ferments, I guess my gut microbiome was probably still not well, because I drink diet drinks from time to time. I shouldn't, I know that. But since I've gone to ferments, it's completely reversed. And I thought I wasn't pooping because, oh, I'm absorbing everything. There's no waste, because that's what we hear, right? And there's probably some truth in that. But I added ferments. That's all I did. And now I have a normal BM every single day. So I don't know. It's really weird. But I know I feel my gut feels the best it's ever felt. I dealt with GERD for 30 years. And I used to eat, they used to have these big boxes of flavored Tums. You'd go to Sam's. I don't know, there's like 500 of them in there. And I would go through a box of those Tums, those flavored Tums, every month, because I had heartburn and GERD every day until I started carnivore. And then it went away. And now with the added the ferments, now my gut, I don't know how it could be any better than it is now.
Yeah. I'm trying to, I thought I had another question, but I'm not finding it now. There's so many comments, it's hard to find
No,
everything.
sorry. It's probably from my channel because I'm seeing a ton
Yeah.
of comments in here. So this is what
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
when you get me on. I told you, I don't have very many subs, but I have a lively audience.
And hey, if you're watching Brian's channel or my channel, you haven't subbed to Amy's channel, you need to do it. Trust me, you need to do it. It's entertaining. It's informative. She's great.
Thank
She's
you.
I think she's a rising star. And hey, hit that like button too. Hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. See how many likes we can get. Brian and I were counting that last week. We had so many participants or watchers, and there were very few likes. So try and hit that like button for us if you can. Get the algorithm to kick this thing out, because this message needs to go as many people as we can get it to, as we said earlier in the show.
I will say one thing. There's the whole calories thing has been a huge topic in the discussion.
Yeah.
And I think we all have our opinions, but here's the thing. I'm not sure it matters.
Doesn't.
If some people
Right.
want to count calories, go for it. If that works for you, go for it. If you count how many grams of protein, fat you're eating, go for it. If you don't count anything, like I don't, and I know a lot of other people don't, go for it if it's working for you. If what you're doing isn't working, then maybe try mixing it up, try something else. But if it's working, I mean, I personally don't worry about calories at all, but I know people out there that do, and it seems to work for them.
Right. And I may actually, for the first time ever, do some tracking going forward, just to see, especially I cut out cheese, because I'm eating a lot of cheese, and a lot of calories in that cheese.
So this is interesting. I'd like to know more about Brian's poop. How liquidy are they exactly? I don't know, because I thought that I said they weren't liquidy, right?
I don't
Did
know
I
who that
misspeak?
is.
I might have misspoke, but I think I said that they weren't liquidy. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
how liquidy they are either. I don't know.
Do you know who that is? Is that someone you've seen before?
I don't know. It's on one of your two channels. I don't know. I think. Or is it on my channel? No, it's on one of your two channels. I don't know who it is. I don't know. We have a question here, though. Does anyone else have
Simple.
problems with extreme fatigue after eating a meal? Even if it isn't large, I have more of a problem with under eating.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've not had any problem with that. I do know when I was converting, when I was finally becoming fat adapted, I went through a period of probably 10 days where I would just all of a sudden hit, in the middle of the day, just hit a wall and just feel like I could lay down in the middle of a concrete floor and go to sleep. It would come from out of nowhere. I'd feel fine 1 second, and the next second I was extremely exhausted. And I thought, if this doesn't clear itself up pretty soon, I'm going to have to get off carnivore, because I can't live like this. And by the grace of God, it finally did go away. Then about a week after that, I started having lower back pain that was, I mean, just, oh my gosh, unbelievably bad. And I think that was oxalate dumping. It was in the area of my kidney, so I may have been having some kidney stones move or whatever. But it was really, really bad, and it lasted about a week, and it went away. And between then and now, I never had any symptoms. But that extreme fatigue, it was scary, because if I were driving a car and that hit, I don't know I could stay awake to drive home. It was impressive, but it finally went away. Cynthia, I hope that helps. And I couldn't tie it to having a meal. It would just be random times. But I don't have that now. Usually when I get through eating, I jump right up and do my dishes like immediately, and then I go for a walk because I've heard it's good to walk after a big meal. So I usually try to get up and walk a couple thousand steps right after I get through eating.
Johnny. Oh, yes, your name is.
Oh.
His name is Johnny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. It really is Johnny. Actually, it's John, but my dad was always John, and I was always Little Johnny. So my dad's still very much alive. He's a cattle farmer, actually, in Georgia, and so
Little
I'm still
Johnny had his first big boy job.
Thinking with big
No,
boy
you're right.
pants.
That's right.
Oh wow. I do OMAD on carnivore and I poop once a week. I don't understand how that happens though. I guess that just shows you how different everybody is.
Yep. And that's how I was, Brian.
Even when I'm
until
doing OMAD, I go
Yeah.
every day.
I was the same way. I had 4 or 5 days in a row. It was my norm for 2 years until I started adding the ferments, and I didn't feel bad. I had no abdominal issues at all. I thought it was because I just wasn't creating a lot of waste, you know. So I guess it's fine.
Go back to calorie thing. I did.
Yeah.
You know what's
I did
funny?
too.
If I actually look at my calories now, right? Which I don't believe in, but if I look at that, I'm eating a similar amount to when I gained a lot of weight and I lost 85 pounds eating this way with the same amount of calories. So what is it? And if you're into calories, maybe you've got the answer, but what is it? Is it because that food does something different in your body to lose the calories? I don't know. But yes, I was definitely a calorie counter. I certainly was.
I
I
lost a
struggled
bunch of
losing
weight.
weight that way.
Yeah, my mom wanted me to lose a bunch of weight and get healthy before she died. She knew she was dying. She had terminal cancer, so I went on a crash diet and I cut my calories by like 15. I cut them in half, and I was eating grilled chicken, steamed broccoli, and Brussels sprouts, and some brown rice. And I would probably do 1,000, 1,200 calories a day, and I was exercising like crazy. And I lost 100 pounds in about 9 months before my mom passed away. And then after my mom died, I went back to eating normal, but normal in the standard American diet. And then, but when that was going on, I lost all that weight. I shivered all the time. I was free. It could be 105 degrees and I was freezing cold. I could not regulate my temperature because I had no fat. But I lost 100 pounds in 9 months counting calories. I cut them in half.
Look at this. George says, I didn't go more than 3 times a week until I upped the butter. Now it's 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah.
You know what? We're almost 2 hours. This is the longest we've ever gone, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great conversation, but I think if we want to wrap it up a little bit, that would be okay. Because I know Amy got up early this morning to do kilt, so if she didn't get a nap, she's probably hanging on for dear life.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm sorry if I didn't get to all the comments and any questions out there. There's
I
so
never
many comments.
do. I never do.
Yeah.
I just appreciate everyone who's, watching from all the channels. And please go subscribe if you're on my channel to Johnny and Brian's channel. I posted them, the links. They're posted, they're pinned up top, but I also posted them again in the chat. And it's Wikivore.
Go to Amy's channel if you aren't familiar with her too. It's on the screen.
Wikivore and the Carnivore Champion, right?
Right. Yep.
All
right, Amy. Well, thank you for joining us. This was a great conversation. I've heard part of your story this morning, and I got to hear the rest of it tonight. So you've been through a lot, but you've persevered, and that's what's important, right?
Yeah, and I feel great, and the energy's returning, and everything's going great. So, I mean, even 3 weeks out of surgery, I feel great. So
awesome.
I've healed up even better having been on carnivore, I would say.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with our audience. That was amazing. Hopefully we can get you some subs and some watch time out of this too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. We'll be back again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye, y'all.